Hello, it's News 360 and it's live Money News Hub here at Desawe in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Ford. To look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Millennium Development Authority MEDA and the Northern Electricity Distribution Company NEDCO signed $66 million agreement for NEDCO's 4 key projects.
Local Government and Rural Development Minister Haji Alima Mahama challenges metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies to adopt comprehensive strategies to mobilize revenue for development.
Also ahead this evening, Consumer Protection Agency tasks government to facilitate passage of Consumer Protection Bill.
And in business tonight, government and the Africa Development Fund, ADF, signed a loan agreement of $39 million to support the Planting for Food and Jobs program.
And in sports this evening, court dismisses Accra Great Olympics' plea to place interlocutory injunction on the Ghana Premier League, paving way for competition to start.
And on the foreign front, U.S. imposing sanctions on 19 Russians, accusing them of interference in the 2016 U.S. election and alleged cyber attacks.
We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360, streaming live all across the world on 3news.com as well as TV3 Ghana on Facebook. On to our very first story this evening. The Shai Osudoku District Chief Executive Daniel Ekufu says plans are advanced to secure funding to rehabilitate the Bailey Bridge, which links Esutrare to Osuem in the Shai Osudoku District. The bridge has been closed down for 3 weeks for maintenance works affecting economic activities.
Drivers will not dare cross the bridge, which has become a death trap, leaving commercial motor riders, popularly referred to as Okada, to have a field day. Okada operators are the only people who still risk their lives and use the bridge and charge high fares.
In case we are here now, somebody sick seriously, there's no car to pick in and send it. Because night, the car can never pass the bushway and go and send the sickness to hospital at Akusi.
We use the bridge at our transport to anywhere in part of Ghana. We have no information. And the highway people came and closed the bridge that is getting broken. So they are coming to repair it. About 3 weeks now they closed the bridge, nothing is going on. So we are suffering.
But the Ghana Highway Authority says it is awaiting the release of funds to rehabilitate the bridge. District manager who made the disclosure said equipment had already been mobilized for the rehabilitation work. The district chief executive of Shai Osudoku, Daniel Ekufu, also disclosed arrangements have advanced to secure funds for the project.
This is the first time the whole bridge is being replaced. Let me apologize for the frustration associated with the reconstruction of the bridge, especially the diversion, which has increased travel hours in that part of the district. However, I want to assure you that on conclusion, it will certainly accelerate the local economic development of the people in the area.
The first rehabilitation work on the bridge was executed in 2007.
The Consumer Protection Agency has tasked government to facilitate the passage of the Consumer Protection Bill into law. The executive officer of the agency, Kofi Kapito, made the observation at an event to commemorate World Consumer Rights Day here in Accra.
The Consumer Protection Agency is requesting 20,000 signatories to petition government through social media to pass the Consumer Protection Law. They observe the absence of consumer laws makes it difficult for consumer advocacy. The agency says it currently depends on scattered laws in their operation, which is not good enough. The executive officer of Consumer Protection Agency, Kofi Kapito, believes the seemingly lack of interest in the law by government can be seen to have slowed down the process.
Consumer protection has no political color at all. It is not a policy that somebody will say that, yes, no, it is not. But it is good for the child, for the mother, for the father, for the grandchildren, and even the grandmother. I am not Attorney General. I am not the president. If I was the president, believe me, I would have passed the bill yesterday.
Head of Communications at the Food and Drugs Authority, James Lartey, underscored the need for consumers to know their right and push it to receive enough attention from policymakers.
When you get on the market and you are patronizing a product, there are some basic things that you need to check. If you go on the market and you know that the regulator has said that products should not be labeled in any other language apart from English. If you go there and you see that, yes, this is really a biscuit, everything shows that it's a biscuit, but the labeling is in Chinese, no English translation. As a consumer, right from there, you should not even patronize. Because the regulator has said that such products should not be on the market. We might not have seen it. You can alert us.
He insisted consumer protection issues must be a shared responsibility and advised regulators to constantly monitor the operations of service providers to promote consumer protection in the country.
Now let's stay on this issue as more than 100 traders at the Dome Market in Accra have been sensitized on consumer rights and responsibilities. The move by the National Communications Authority to mark World Consumer Rights Day was also to empower consumers to make informed decisions to engender safer digital markets. Digital technology is having a dramatic impact on consumers around the world, creating many benefits such as enhancing communication, easy access to information and transforming businesses. However, the evolution of digital markets have also raised global issues such as internet fraud and scams. The National Communications Authority, NCA, embarked on a roadshow at the Dome Market in Accra as part of activities to commemorate World Consumer Rights Day, instituted to create awareness on consumer rights and responsibilities.
In as much as the NCA exists to protect them, they also have a responsibility to make sure that they know about the services and the offers before they sign up to these services and offers.
The traders were also taken through NCA's complaints procedures.
We'll go on some of the stories where the Millennium Development Authority, MEDA, and the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, have signed an agreement which paves way for MEDA to release funds to NEDCO's 4 key projects. The projects valued at $66 million under the NEDCO Financial and Operational Turnout Project, one of 6 projects that make up the Ghana Power Compact 2 program.
The Implementing Entity Agreement enables government and the stakeholder institutions to meet their responsibilities and obligations under the Compact 2 program. It also allows for an operational agreement between NEDCO and MEDA and also serves as a mechanism to channel Compact funds to NEDCO, which aims at eradicating poverty through economic growth.
The many challenges encountered in our effort to sign the IEA, we have lost almost 2 years of the time for the implementation of the project. All stakeholders must put their hands on deck, collaborate, and work hand in hand to move this project forward.
He said that MEDA is ready to roll out the NEDCO Financial Operation Turnout Project to meet the requirement of government industrialization program and support other social services.
A decision will soon be taken on a more amenable form of private sector participation that best suits NEDCO within the current constraints. We've talked a lot about the PSP, and that's what we are trying to fashion out, so that when the time comes, it will be embraced and NEDCO will be able to work effectively with it so that we can achieve our objective.
For his part, the managing director of NEDCO, Frank Akligo, said the historic agreement will pave way for the implementation of the earmark project, which supports NEDCO's vision to become an economically viable and sustaining organization.
This grant is of great benefit to NEDCO, but it also potentially can stimulate the economy in NEDCO's operational area so significantly that the earmark project can become the turning point that sees the ever-widening socio-economic development gap between Southern Ghana and Northern Ghana closed.
The $66 million grant funds for the 4 NEDCO project activities represent 14% of the total $535 million Compact 2 funds.
Now, management of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, say it will revoke the license of private electrical contractors who extort money from consumers. Speaking at the launch of the revised Code of Ethics for staff members of the company and contractors, the managing director of ECG, Engineer Boakye Appiah, insisted that anyone found culpable will be investigated and properly dealt with.
Engineer Boakye Appiah noted that the Code of Ethics obligates contractors to exercise some level of confidentiality and secrecy in the execution of their work. They are therefore to uphold a high level of professionalism and ensure maximum safety wherever they work. The Code of Ethics also states that contractors who flout regulations of the company will have their license terminated. The Managing Director, Engineer Boakye Appiah, insisted the revised Code of Ethics will be strongly enforced. He again assured the contractors of government's commitment not to let them off under the concession agreement.
And allay your fears about job security and whatever. But I must indicate that what we are even doing right now is putting you in a better shape for any private man or somebody who wants to work with professional people, to work.
The president of the Ghana Electrical Contractors Association, Nana Addo Tetebu, pledged the commitment of his members to respect the Code of Ethics and company regulations.
We want ECG to help us in this direction, that all the contractors we are giving jobs to, they should not forcibly, but they should be willingly to join the association so that we all go and then implement what we have to implement in the right time.
In the interim, the private contractors are expected to apprise themselves with the Code of Ethics before securing any new contracts from ECG.
Now, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union and the Public Utilities Workers Union pool have expressed concern about Ghanaians that they could actually be paying more for power despite the decision by the ECG to implement the 17% tariff by April 1. Now, both unions argue that the ECG failed to explain whether the 17.5% tariff will cover other levies and charges for the operations, including those on prepaid meters. The head of public relations at the ECG, William Boateng, has rejected those claims by the unions and insists those levies and charges should be paid by consumers.
The Electricity Company of Ghana has insisted that consumers will benefit from the 17.5% by April 1st, 2018. This has angered some sections of labor, including the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union and the Public Utilities Workers Union pool. The General Secretary of ICU, Solomon Kote, agreed with the management of ECG when he stated that it cannot execute the tariff reduction on the 15th of March due to its billing system. However, it was disturbed that the ECG failed to explain when those on prepaid meters will benefit from the reduction.
The consumer will look at, I pay 100 Ghana a month. With the 17.5 that I'm getting as a domestic consumer, okay, I'm going to go down and pay 82 cedis, 50 pesos a month. But let me say it emphatically, we shall pay more than 82.
He again alluded that some key components such as statutory payments and other levies will not be affected by the reduction, compelling Ghanaians to pay more.
Yes, you are an independent regulator, but if I believe they had considered all these other variables in their tariff arrangement, it will make it easier.
The General Secretary of POO, Michael Edumata Nyantechi, proposed to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission to consider the billing system of ECG before issuing implementation directives in the middle of the month. The Public Relations Officer of ECG, William Boateng, explained that the consumers on prepaid meters would definitely benefit from the 17.5% reduction.
Customers on non-residential, those who are working with the commercial, they are saving as much as 89. That's very significant. 89 cedis. 89. In fact, in some cases, When we hit around 600, I, as a domestic customer, I am saving in the region of 82 cedis. Look at the commercial. As much as 193 Ghana cedis, that's about 200 in a month. So it's very significant.
On the levies and charges which will not be affected by the reduction, William Boateng insisted consumers should bear the cost.
Realification levy, 2%. You know of the you know of the street lighting, which is 3%. So there's around 5%. That is statutory. You know of the fixed charges. Service charge is 6 cedis, 33 pesos for residential, and the non-residential is 10 cedis and 60. I have it here, pesos. That's what you have to pay.
Meanwhile, the ECG has implored consumers and business people to have faith and confidence in the company.
All right, so let's put this issue into perspective now. And Kojo Poku Nsafa, who is an energy expert, he joined me on Skype now. Kojo, thank you. Good evening to you. Now, is it the case that this reduction should have affected the statutory payments that is in the price build-up that we pay for electricity bills? That's the street lights, NHIL. Should it have been affected?
Well, good evening and good evening to your viewers. I'm sure when the PULC put out the press statement, the letter that came was expressly clear that the reduction is only on energy charge. So it's very ingenious for anyone to think that that 17% will be part of statutory. Statutory reduction is done in Parliament and is not done by PULC. So the PULC reduction which they did is only on energy charge. Now, the reason this is very significant, and I find it very disingenuous when people try to play down the significant nature of that reduction. The energy charge is what constitutes majority of your bill. If you decide to leave your air conditioner on or your kettle on or your microwave on, what you consume every minute, every hour is the energy charge. So when this amount is reduced, it goes a long way to reduce your final bill. Now, most of the statutory payments which we do is a percentage of your bill. So if you are to do a percentage of 100 Ghana cedis, that percentage is higher than if you are to do a percentage of 82 cedis. So I find it very strange when people say that, well, the reduction is insignificant because the statutory payments are not affected. Every statutory payment you have, except the service charge, is a valerium calculation. So the Ghanaians should be mindful that the 17.5% being given to residential and 30% being given to non-residential is very significant.
Kojo, thank you for this, and I'm grateful. I think that you really just bring some clarity to this. Kojo Poku is an energy expert joining us with his thoughts on this. This, many thought, should have taken effect today, being March 15, but the ECG has clarified that due to their billing system, it will take effect by the end of the month. That's the 1st of April. So that's what's happening now.
On to some other stories this evening. On our MTN Video reports this evening, Otima Kwache, our citizen journalist, reports from Kwewu Tafo in the eastern region on an ECG pole which is on the verge of collapse.
After a rainstorm, this pole has been like this for more than a week now. The Electricity Company of Ghana has been contacted, but still to no avail. If this pole should fall, people living around would be in trouble. It is really dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Scary and dangerous. Reporting from Bauta, Otima Kwache.
Well, you can also send your video report via WhatsApp number 055-1433-044. That's 055-1433-044. We encourage you to do that. Also, complement the work we do here with Citizens Journalism here. We'll be back shortly with some more news here on News 360. Do stay.
Well, it's a very good evening and thanks so much for staying with us on News 360. Let's do business now. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa, and fuel prices are expected to remain fairly stable in the second pricing window of March 2018. And this is according to a forecast by the Institute of Energy Security, the IES. Now, according to the Institute, the prices stability is due to the fairly stable currency prices, talking about the Ghana cedi to the major trading currencies, that is the US dollar, as well as stable prices also on the commodity market, talking about gas oil on the international markets. Well, consumers were expecting to see some price reductions between 1% and 3% in the first pricing window of March 2018, but this didn't happen. And according to the NPA, it was due to the restoration of that particular one there. So let's see what happens at the pumps if prices will really remain stable as expected. Let's move on now. The government of Ghana and the African Development Fund, ADF, have signed a loan agreement of $39 million to support government's flagship program, Planting for Food and Jobs. Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta signed on behalf of government, whilst Dr. Yero Bede, country manager of African Development Bank, signed on behalf of the African Development Fund. The loan is a concessionary facility to finance the Savannah Zone Agricultural Productivity Improvement Project. Now, the 5-year project, to be implemented from 2018 to 2022, is expected to enhance the creation and strengthening of agribusiness to increase incomes of actors along a selected value chain. It is also expected to benefit about 50,000 economically active smallholder farmers living in the Savannah Zone. Away to some more, and the Indian business community has lauded Ghana's steady economic progress and promised to invest in the country if the right policies are in place. At a high-level business interaction between business communities of both countries in New Delhi, India, Trade Minister Alan Kyerematen said government has created the platform to make the private sector thrive.
The high-level Indo-Ghana business interaction, spearheaded by the Ghana High Commission in India, brought together key business players from Ghana and India to share ideas on investment opportunities. The meeting was an opportunity to sell government vision and business opportunities to investors.
I mean, Ghana itself is a small population, but if you look at it in the context of West Africa, that is an estimated 370 million size population. With a very interesting demography, because 60% of that population is less than 35 years. It means it's a market just waiting to grow.
Trade Minister Alan Kyerematen said no investor will regret investing in the country since Ghana is on the right path to industrial and economic transformation.
Without a strong, resilient economy, there can be no business. And that is why a major part of developing a country beyond aid means you have to have a strong economy to make sure that our local industries survive. Because how do I come to India to come and preach to you, to come and invest in our economy, when local industries themselves are collapsing? I'm not sure I'll be able to make a good case.
Some participants gave their impressions of the meeting.
I think what a strong step which has been taken today, and many people have come to know the strength of Ghana today, and I'm sure this will result into, and it will mature into many national, international deals which are going to take place in time to come.
This conclave today has become a stepping stone for company of mine to do business in Ghana. So I'm really grateful that I was part of here today. And let's see, probably 1 or 2 years down the line, when I see you people, I'll be a Ghana. I'll have factory in Ghana.
Clearly, the business community of both countries, India and Ghana, are very optimistic that this meeting has opened doors for more investment and is a win-win situation for both countries. From Delhi, India, Nana Kwekwedia, TV3 News.
Well, meanwhile, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India and the Ghana Chamber of Commerce have signed a memorandum of understanding to promote the development of business opportunities between the two countries. At a high-level Indo-Ghana business meeting in Delhi, India, the president of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Nana P.J. Danko, also expressed confidence Ghana will be the ultimate beneficiary of the agreement.
The Memorandum of Understanding, among other things, will promote trade and investments between Ghana and India and improve cooperation between the two organizations. Both parties have agreed to assist in the organization of trade and market research missions, conferences, symposia, and other methods of trade and promotional activities in the two countries. They also agreed to create and maintain continuing exchange of information about economic development and other matters affecting business interest of members.
We want to encourage a lot of investors to come to Ghana to partner with Ghanaians and do business in Ghana so that we can create, first of all, employment for the teeming youth and especially the graduates who have completed school and have not gotten work to do. Secondly, also to support government to get more taxes to support all the developmental projects that the government is doing.
It is expected that members will foster effective cooperation for improved business relations and render better services.
Why, so you can visit 3news.com for more news updates. Remember, we're still celebrating Ghana, and the hashtag remains #WeCelebrateGH. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. Alfred, standing by.
Nanekia, thank you for business there. But the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Hajia Halima Mahama, has charged the municipal chief executives to adopt a comprehensive strategy to improve revenue mobilization for development. She was speaking at the inauguration of the Krowo Municipal Assembly at Nongwa here in the Greater Accra region.
Krowo Municipality was carved out of the Lejikuku Krowo Municipal Assembly, which was inaugurated in 2008. Parliament in 2017 passed a bill to allow the creation of 38 new districts and municipal assemblies. The Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Hajia Halima Mahama, noted the creation of the assembly will bring development closer to the people. She charged the assemblies to adopt strategies to improve revenue mobilization.
The revenue mobilization is so key, especially in cities like Nungwa, Teshi. They can do better. They can do much, much better. Property rates alone would be able to do a lot of their work with them. And property rates is ceded to the Metropolitan Municipal and District Assemblies. It is my anticipation that they will take it seriously. If they don't take it seriously, and national level decide that, look, this is over and above their responsibility, they will have themselves to blame.
The Member of Parliament for Krowo, Elizabeth Afolekwe, is confident the creation of the new assembly will engender massive development.
I believe that this is going to bring a lot of development to Krowo. To the people, the traditional people of Nungwa, this is going to bring a lot of development. And we are so happy that the President is actually fulfilling his campaign promises.
Meanwhile, some 67 officials serving at the local government setup have been transferred to the newly created district assemblies to assume the role of metropolitan, municipal and district coordinating directors effective Monday, April 2. The move comes on the heels of creation of new metropolitans, municipal and districts, bringing the number of MMDAs to 254 from the previous 216.
In other news this evening, the prosecutor handling the murder trial of former Ebuakwa North Member of Parliament J.B. Dankwa Edu has told an Accra District Court he's received a full autopsy report but is still working to incorporate it with the investigative report. Now, DSP George Amega prayed the court for some days to allow the Attorney General prepare an advice and come to the court.
The Accra District Court, presided over by Her Worship Aretin Semo, though granted a plea of prosecution for some days, urged the prosecutor, DSP George Amega, to ask the Attorney General's department to expedite action on the advice. She noted the court could give more days if need be to allow the Attorney General do its work. This, she maintained, was preferable to taking short dates, which results in frequent adjournment. The autopsy report of the late Member of Parliament for Ibuako North, J.B. Danquah Edu, was finally presented to the court last month after several months of delay. The former Ibuako North MP was stabbed to death on the dawn of February 9, 2016 at his Shashi residence in Accra. Two suspects, a phone dealer, Daniel Asedu 19, aka Sexy Don Don, and a phone repairer, Vincent Boso, aka Junior Agogo, are before the court for murdering the former Ibuako North MP. The case has been adjourned to March 29.
Now, the acting general secretary of the New Patriotic Party, John Boedu, says the party will not hesitate to punish members who violate its electoral laws. He was addressing a news conference in Accra to outline rules and regulations governing the party's upcoming annual regional delegates conference.
The NPP's recently held constituency election was fraught with several disputes. Ablekuma North and South, Adentan, Shama, Sekendi and Kwesimintim were among constituencies which were embroiled in controversies. Some aggrieved members resorted to the courts, while others invoked curses to register their displeasure over the conduct of the election. Addressing a news conference in Accra, NPP's acting general secretary, John Boedu, said the party is ready to crack the whip on recalcitrant members.
To the extent that some of our party members are cursing and doing all kinds of things that are not correct, the party takes serious notice of that and will deal with those matters. We are going to put together a disciplinary committee and a committee specifically to look at matters that arose from the polling station, electoral area, constituency, region, and likely national elections, to deal with people who deliberately sidestep party procedures, party structures, to take the party to court.
The party is gearing up to elect regional officers at its annual regional delegates conference in April. Acting General Secretary of the party, John Boedu, outlined modalities governing the process.
A member of the Regional Election Committee shall not be eligible to contest for any position in the regional primaries, and I think that this is to ensure fairness. A prospective candidate shall be an active and known member of the party of good standing for at least 2 years.
The conference is to be held from April 21 to 24.
Now, with the high cost of import duties and the high volume of cheap imported goods from China, the stage seems set for the destruction of government's agenda to promote made-in-Ghana goods, especially the production of textiles. Textile traders at Makola Market are using 90% of their capital to import foreign-made textile materials from China to augment local demand, while locally manufactured textile materials are not being promoted.
It's 1 p.m. Monday afternoon, and business is booming for traders in African textiles here at Makola Market. Patrons walk in to make their selections, but sadly, almost everyone is buying the imported African prints.
I wanted to buy GTP, but the China one is cheaper.
The worrying trend of the influx of cheap foreign-made African textiles appears to be deepening the woes of the textile industry in Ghana.
So I'm in one of such shops here at Makola Market, and on display are various African prints. What I hold here is made in China, high target they call it, and what I have here on my chest is GTP made in Ghana. The GTP is going for 75 Ghana cedis, and this is 45 Ghana cedis, almost half the price. But on display, you don't see the difference.
Piracy is the industry's largest threat. The woes of the industry started in the early 2000s, when original designs made by Ghanaian textile companies were stolen, pirated, and reproduced cheaply in China.
China, the government is helping them because of the export. They have most of the things free, especially something like steam.
Mama Wu has been in the textile business for only 4 months, but she can attest to the overwhelming crave of customers for imported African textiles from China.
For business, I mean, if you want people to buy more, so if they go for the high target, that's fine.
Textiles made in Ghana by GTP are reputed to be of superior quality and cannot be matched anywhere in the world.
When you look at the GTP, the texture is soft and the quality is much better because you can also wash it. It's not going to fade as much as the high target.
These women prefer to stock more of the China-made textiles because they claim it is more profitable. E.T. Kennedy is a former employee of GTP Textiles. Having worked with the company for 42 years, he attempts to explain the high cost of locally manufactured textiles.
They try to maintain the standards, and the standards come with a cost. The grey baths, chemicals, the dye stocks and whatnot, they are imported. After you've gone through your cost, you have to add the VAT to it. But these who import these things, they don't pay VAT.
Ghana's textile industry, which used to employ over 25,000 people, has declined in production since 2005. There has been massive layoff of workers, and indigenous Ghanaian textile producing industries cannot make their mark on the markets due to the importation of cheap Chinese textiles. Currently, the industry employs a little over 2,000 workers and is near collapse. As Ghanaians are encouraged to patronize made in Ghana products this month of March and beyond, it is unclear whether Ghanaians will have the financial muscle to afford locally manufactured textile products. Etonamse, TV3.
Another reviewing report there. Certainly, as we celebrate Ghana Month, it's particularly worrying.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the case. And this demands some urgent attention from government. Back with some stories in the world of sports Tuesday.
Hello, good evening, and it's time for us to bring you all the latest in the world of sports. My name is Thierry Nyan. We're starting off with some exciting news, especially for Ghana Premier League clubs. And Accra High Court has, for the second time, dismissed the application for injunction filed against the Ghana Football Association, that's a GFA, by Accra Great Olympics Football Club, paving the way for the Ghana Premier League season to begin. Here is a report filed by my colleague Seloma Menya.
The court, presided over by Justice Anthony Kojo-Yeboah, dismissed the application in its entirety, saying it lacked the requisite jurisdiction to deal with the matter before it. The court acknowledged Accra Great Olympics is entitled to bring an injunction to the High Court, but not one that undermines what is before the Court of Appeal. The GFA believes this clears the path for the commencement of the 2018-2019 Ghana Premier League season. But Counsel for Great Olympics Football Club, Kofi Bento, thinks otherwise.
Effectively, what we know is that somebody else has filed a case against the GFA, and that case has an injunction on it. So as we speak, based on that case, the GFA is injuncted and the league cannot go on. Now, if we had obtained this injunction, it would have been two injunctions with the same effect. What the court has said is that we should pursue our case at the appeals court. But regarding an injunction, our injunction is no longer in effect.
Great Olympics filed a second injunction after a first application was dismissed by the same court on February 21, resulting in the club filing at the Court of Appeal on February 27. The club petitioned the GFA, protesting against Elmina Sharks for fielding an unqualified player. However, the petition was dismissed, forcing Olympics to seek redress at the court.
Still on that matter, the Ghana Football Association has announced the start of the Ghana Premier League this season after an Accra High Court threw out an injunction brought by Great Olympics. A GFA statement says, in view of the ruling, the Ghana Premier League is due to begin at the various centres on Saturday, March 17. The Ghana Premier League was originally due to begin on February 11, but has been stalled by a legal challenge brought forward by Great Olympics over the handling of disciplinary cases at the GFA. The delay means that Ghana actually is now racing against time in order to synchronize its calendar with schedules provided by World Football Governing Body FIFA and the Confederation of African Football. Let's see exactly how that works out for every stakeholder involved. But away from that, still in Ghana football, Ghana's sole representative in Africa, Aduana Stars, said they have achieved their initial objective for this year's CAF Champions League after progressing from the preliminary stage following an aggregate 2-1 win over Libyan side Al Tahadi and having a goal advantage over ES Setif from Algeria. It's a feat that keeps eluding a number of Ghanaian clubs in recent years, which Aduana earlier promised to address while celebrating their domestic league title a few months ago. Defender Elvis Opoku says the misunderstanding with his colleague Darius Asraku during training last week have been resolved, promising that won't affect their performance going into Sunday's game.
Training with Darius Asraku, and the issue has been resolved. Asraku is my friend and he's still a brother to me, as we saw it. When we were training, we were talking, laughing, joking, doing everything as much as possible. This is a big platform for me to apologize to all Ghanaians that what we did in training was so bad, so they should try to forgive us and try to pray for us. Not only Aduana Stars, we are going from Mother Ghana, and we have to do everything as much as possible to bring happiness into our fans, into the faces of our fans and all Ghanaians. So what I would say is that through motivations and through everything, we are all set, and you know how we did our training today was very, very good. So what I'll urge all Ghanaians that they should keep on praying for us so that we will come out victorious in Algeria.
All right, so away from that, let's do some boxing. And Ghana Month is an opportunity to throw the spotlight on some of the nation's most iconic personalities. And today we focus on a man who rose up from humble beginnings to rule the world with his fist and become the destination or definition of patriotism in the process.
Azumah Nelson's charisma today is as palpable as it was in the late 80s and early 90s when his exploits in the ring became a rallying point for national pride. He could box and he could talk a good talk. These days, the professor is aging gracefully, but he still talks an incredibly good talk and breaks out into broad smiles when the subject of his ring exploits comes up. He had many great nights. There was that defining moment against Wilfredo Gomez when he became a world champion. It was so good, every boxing bout in Ghana became Azumah versus Gomez. Then there was the grueling rounds against Marcos Villasana and that long battle against Juan Laporte. Azumah has his favorite moments though, and it is one that will not surprise those who saw him at his peak.
People remember Azumah Nelson and Jeff Fenech, and I think that is one I remember more,
Those Azumah victories, monitored at home in a communal manner on TV that he often paid for from his own fight earnings, were followed by superb gamemanship.
I took the title from a young man, and any old man who wants to challenge me, hey, I'm okay him. I'm too bad.
All right, so that is exactly what we have for you from that particular world. We go, for a commercial break. My name is Thierry Nyan. We'll bring you some more news after this.
Welcome back to News 360. Let's turn to some international news this evening. And the United States has imposed sanctions on 19 Russians, accusing them of interference in the 2016 U.S. election and alleged cyber attacks. They include 30 individuals charged last month by Justice Department Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin accused the Russians of destructive cyber attacks and intrusions targeting critical infrastructure. He said the sanctions would target ongoing attacks by Russia. And in some other international news this evening, some schools in the U.S. have said that they're going to punish students who participated in the protest on Wednesday. Here's a report by Portia Gabo, who's in the United States currently.
Disappointed that governments over the years have failed to protect you children?
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely disappointed in them.
What do you think is the solution? Arming teachers?
Oh, no. Like, if anything, there needs to be less guns. I think, like, immediately something that could be passed is a bump stock ban, something that should have been banned long ago, because we see semi-automatic weapons being turned into automatic weapons, which allowed the mass shootings in Las Vegas to happen. And then after that, we need to reinstate the assault weapons ban that we had for 10 years. And perhaps after that, look at some of the gun legislations that they have in like countries like Japan and Israel, where you have to be a member of a shooting club, go through gun ownership tests. It can't just be as simple as walking into a store and giving them money and walking out with a gun.
That's my colleague, our correspondent Portia Gabo, who's in the United States, interacting with some students there on that protest. And next, we've got some entertainment news. Stay with us.
All right, so we are going into straight entertainment news right here, News 360, after this break. All right, so welcome back from that short break. If you just tune in, this is the entertainment news and lifestyle segment brought to you by Vodafone, Power to You, and FunMax, Fuel Your Day. My name is Nana Kwedrado. Now, Alfred, you know we've been running Sadia for some time now.
Absolutely.
And the story is getting interesting, fascinating.
I mean, Sadia...
Mr. Gibson and many people have been commenting online, getting very excited.
And what I do know, I don't know how they're going to be able to get finally to Sadia. They're all mapping out plans, and the Gibsons are just, some of them are diabolic. That's for the better expression.
All right, so now we are moving straight into the story where the plot thickens in TV3's drama series Sadia as detectives are mounting a search for the killer of Mr. Gibson. The wife of the business magnate Claudia, played by Kalsum Sinari, is the prime suspect in this case. But does the story really have the hand, or does she really have a hand in Mr. Gibson's death? Let's find out from the reports gathered by Naftali Bar.
But I thought we agreed not to get the children involved in this dangerous business of yours, Ralph. I mean, why now?
Sweetie, they were children then. They are men now.
My character name is Claudia Gibson. I got married to Ralph in the 70s, but before marriage I had my daughter, who is Farida. And what I can say a bit about Ralph is he's so much of a womanizer that he had to bring in other children from outside, which I tried to raise. And where is Farida?
I hear that he has an announcement to make. So for the very first time, we're having a family meeting. Yippee! So, what's the announcement, Daddy?
Farida, just sit. Now he's dead and everybody's accusing me of killing my husband, which I don't know. The story is yet to unfold. Father, forgive me, for I have sinned. This is my first confession in 20 years.
And what is the nature of your sin?
I haven't committed it yet, but I'm about to do it. So So this has really distracted me so much that I keep going on and off. As
the
you can
search for the killer of Mr. Gibson is still on, but does Claudia have a hand in her husband's death?
to tell you I didn't kill him. But then there's more to it that I'm saying, and let's watch out. Sadia is an interesting story that is coming out, and you can afford to miss. Do you really believe I murdered my husband?
Make a date with Sadia every Monday and Tuesday at exactly 8 p.m. Well, Mrs. Gibson, known in real life as Kalsum Sinari, has been acting for close to 3 decades. What has sustained her all this while?
It's God. I put in a lot of effort into whatever I do because I believe without that you can't succeed to get to where I am today. So basically, I'm very passionate about what I do, so I do it right. And probably that's what has sustained me all these years. For the up-and-coming young ones, I'll just tell them to be patient in life and that you don't get everything easy. You have to work hard. But then if you rush, it's like driving a car, and if you are speeding, you might not get to where you have to.
All right, so that was Kalsum Sinari, played by Claudia. Alfred, I mean, what do you make of that story?
I mean, it's interesting. Kalsum Sinari is confessing a sin she's
about
to
make.
In 20 years. That really wraps up the suspense that Sadia has. And I love the storyline because the suspense keeps growing every episode that we watch.
Certainly, it's very difficult for viewers to predict what's about to happen, and that's the whole
So many
point.
twists and suspense in there. But the final story for this evening, we are delving into the story of Carl Kessie. 4 years down the lane since he lost his manager, Fennec Ottry, Owusu Warai has caught up with him in an exclusive interview, and this is what he says.
Saying that it's been 4 years of sadness and doubt. What is making Kwakese sad?
To wake up and think that on this special day you saw your manager being murdered live in cold blood. You know, it's been 4 years and justice has not been served. It shows that we are not safe in this country. If somebody get up and come and shoot you or stab you, we wouldn't know who did that. So we are not safe. With this situation, people will start thinking about protecting their own self in their own way.
Just around the time of the murder, a prime suspect was picked up, put before court, and the court discharged him.
No, it's not enough, because the reasons of the discharge is that prosecutor is not coming to court. Who is the prosecutor? The prosecutor is government. He represents the police. So if that person stops going to court, why is he not going to court? Somebody is not doing his job.
What has the police been telling you?
This is a national issue. It's a national case because it's a murder. They should be telling the world the answers that they've gotten. When you make investigations and you find something or you don't find anything, you come back to the media. So they are not doing their job.
So you are disappointed at the turn of events?
Yes, everybody. It's not me. Everybody is disappointed.
And what are you expecting them to do now?
They said somebody was not there. Somebody has been cleared off. Like Bulldog has been cleared off. So if it's not Bulldog, who killed Fennec?
So that was Emmanuel Boutre speaking there, popularly known as Carl Kessie, asking all the questions. My name is Nana Kwejuado, and of course, Alfred, what do you make of your story?
Yeah, well, we live with it. Who killed Fennec? But the wheels of justice grind slowly. They will get to its destination. That's what should encourage him. But thank you so much for spending your 60 minutes with us. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Ford. Visit our website, 3news.com, for some more news. And News at 10 will simulcast on our sister station at 3FM 92.7. Thanks so much for watching. Have an incredible evening.